it was like June 2012, I get off of a medication. My stepdad died in like July of 2012. And then I got diagnosed with HIV in October.
Oh my God.
So it really was like, but the self-destructive behavior was like, you know, at a 50.
Before we start today's episode, I just want to offer a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about food and diets, exercise, GLP-1s, and all of that stuff. If you find that extremely triggering, this episode won't be for you, but don't worry, we'll be out next Thursday with another one. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ask Kati Anything. I'm your host, licensed marriage and family therapist, Kati Morton. I am so glad that you're here. Today, I have a very special guest, a new friend of mine. He is a comedian. You might know him as a host from Queer Eye. He's also a wonderful advocate, hairdresser, has his JVN styling products that I use today and use every day. The wonderful, the amazing Jonathan Van Ness.
Oh my God, Katie, is it air dry cream today?
Yes, but I should have put more because it was so misty
I know,
out.
but look at how good your hair looks. You're giving me like goddess fairy waves. And that's because when I have, not to like name drop and make this about hair right off the bat, but because when I styled your hair, I blew it out. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time I'm really getting to see like your natural texture and all of its glory.
Oh yeah, because I came dirty haired as per requested.
Your natural wave is gorgeous.
Oh,
well, because we knew we were doing a blow dry that day. But this is, your natural texture is so pretty.
Thank you. You have beautiful hair too.
Thank you.
I
gave you
watching.
Like a top knot today.
I love it. It's okay though.
Sorry.
Well, it's misty out because I was going to straighten. We recorded an episode of your podcast and I had it straightened and I was like, maybe I'll straighten it again. And then I was like, it's too wet for that.
I love seeing your versatility, queen. And I also hate wasting a blow dry on a rainy day.
Me too, because I know I'll get horns and I'll be fighting this like.
What do you call horns?
I get like, like these hairs that.
Oh,
just,
they
like,
kind of like, oh yeah.
They come out from the underbelly of the straight hair.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. I'd love to hear about people's morning routines and ways that they get their day going on a positive note. Tell us a little bit about your morning routine.
Morning routine. I am such a morning person. Like, I don't know what happened to my circadian rhythm when Mother Nature made me, but like, I've just always been like,
How is that? Just today, I had a really tough time. I'm not a morning person. And I even said to my husband, because we're both not morning people, I think that's why it works. And I said, I wonder what it's like to be a morning person. Do you just wake up like ready to go? Tell me about that.
I think is like the best way I can describe it is like as a child, I literally had this like anxiety of like missing the best part of the day if I woke up too late.
Oh, like the FOMO almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like excited to like, I don't know. And I've always just, when the sun goes down, my whole life, I just get tired. Like,
oh, so winter must be tough.
I just do. Just like when it gets dark out, I'm just kind of like, I just get a little bit more tired, which as a comedian is rough. Like I definitely gotta like, I'm definitely overindulging in coffee like when I'm on tour. But like if I am awake when the sun's down, it's because I'm performing.
Oh, otherwise you're like mellowing, going to bed, like unwinding.
I just do my best work in the morning and I've always just been like that. And not to like but the only caveat is it's like if it's not true if I have to wake up at an obscenely early time, like before I wake up naturally.
Okay, so what time do you naturally wake up?
Like a natural wake up for me is like, don't come for me, you guys, but like 5:45 or like 6.
Okay.
Like that's like when I just kind of like open my eyes for the first time and it's usually around there.
I'm so impressed. I'm so jealous.
But if I have to wake up at like 4 a.m. for like a early flight or whatever, I'm not like, let's take a coffee dance.
Okay.
Like I definitely like have to have coffee. But then once I have my coffee, like at 4:30, I'll be like, oh my God, babe, do you remember that time? Blah, 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 blah. And like Mark will be like, how are you talking this much? Like at 4:30 or like my assistant will be in the car and I'm just like, do you know what I was thinking? And she's like, oh
she's
my
like,
God.
Now's not the time.
Yes. Anytime like when the sun is up, let's like do it when the sun's up.
So your coffee dances.
Yeah.
Do we do those most mornings? And tell for people who don't know, what is a coffee dance?
A coffee dance is like this thing that I would do on my stories where I would just like wake up and it's usually in my like post yoga or post gym or post figure skating like euphoria that I would make it. And I love coffee dances. And I still do them, but I will say that like moving to Texas and being a queer public figure, like in the last like 3 years, like when I was in New York, I really felt a joy like in the morning. And then here it's like, I'm a very much news girl. Like I very much like to read the news. I like to like try to understand the world around me. And once I got to Texas, like I was like, it is harder to feel jubilant in the morning more often than it used to be.
Definitely.
And so that kind of like and then I started like struggling with this like guilt for like sharing joy or like sharing
that like you didn't have a right to feel happy? Maybe?
Not that I didn't have a right to be happy, but it's like, why am I out here celebrating and dancing in the morning when I'm seeing all this dehumanization around me? I'm seeing all this like violence around me. I'm seeing all these reasons that I feel like discouraged or like worried about people who I care about. Like, why am I dancing like it's all hunky dory or like it's all, I love that I say hunky dory. Who says that?
I do.
I do. It's just very much like, it's like our people. It's like our time. But yeah, so it's that. I didn't want people to think that I was like unaware of the challenges that people were facing.
I think that's a tricky thing too, because the therapist in me wants to say like, pain isn't like pie. Like if you take a slice, you're not taking it from anybody else. And because somebody else has taken a slice, that doesn't mean that you can't celebrate. Do you know what I mean? Like one does not, I don't know, make the other not valid. People can be in pain and you can also be like, you know what, I choose to start my day to be joyful.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't help, but I get it too. It can feel inauthentic.
I think I just had like, my friend Alok at some point, I think it was in like somewhere in 2021 or 2022, they were like, you're turning your messages off now. Like you are on your Instagram, you are like, no one is allowed to message you that like, cause there's like a setting where you can make it so that's like only you're like either someone who you're following or if you've like already accepted their message. But literally for the first like 3 years of Queer Eye, I would sit for like hours and just be like, oh my God, thank you so much for watching. Oh my God, thank you. Like just to every single person.
Oh my God.
But especially in 2020 during Black Lives Matter, the amount of people who would just come into my DMs and be like, you're not doing enough. You're not saying enough. And then, but also it was just like, I mean, literally I was like, Black Lives Matter isn't when I started talking about racial justice.
Yeah.
Like I'd been talking about it, been covering it. I mean, it was something I cover on Getting Curious for years and years. And it wasn't only racial justice in the United States, but it was like geopolitically, like you're not probably going to tell me something that I don't already, with how much news I consume and with how much I've covered. But if people come and look at your Instagram page for 2 seconds, they don't necessarily know that. So,
well, they don't know you.
Or me either. But just a look was like, you have way too much, like people having way too much access. You got to like shut it down. And so then I did that. And then that really helped because I was like but the moral of that whole story is I noticed that like what I shared and how I shared it, I started changing it based off the negative feedback I was getting. And a lot of that negative feedback was in private, like in DMs and on comments. But like people be like, oh, like just, you know, internet abuse, like verbal abuse, like just, you know, how could you with X or how could, so just making me feel guilty for sharing the joy. And that took me only until very recently where I was like, oh wait, no, I do have a permission to feel joyful or to share my joy or whatever. Like I don't need to feel guilty about that.
Yeah. I know. I noticed you brought them back.
Yeah.
Your morning dances.
Yeah. But I don't know but I do think that in like 2018 and 19, I was like, just every day I was like, holy shit, this is like so amazing. Like having this platform and my life changing so much. And now like, I am still like that. And I am still like so grateful, but like running a hair care brand and like maintaining a podcast and 5 cats and 3 dogs and like my husband and just like my whole life. It's like, sometimes I just wake up in the morning. I'm like, I don't feel like doing a dance. But when I do, I'll share it now.
And I think that's fair. It's more authentic.
Yeah.
Nobody feels like dancing every day.
Because that was the other thing too. I started feeling like on top of everything I just said, it was also like, I felt like it became this thing like that I felt like I needed to do.
Like an obligation rather than something done with joy, which is how it started.
Yes.
So tell me about your husband. How did you guys meet?
We met on Instagram. It's the only thing that Mark Zuckerberg like ever really did great for me.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll give him thank you.
We'll give him that. Thank you for the intro. He slid into my DMs and just was like, he's British. So he was like, your jumper's cute.
Oh.
And then we just started chatting.
We love an accent.
We do love an accent. But it was like a slow burn, and it was like March of 2019, and we just had like a date, and then like nothing. It was like such a literal G-rated date, like so.
That's so not like you in some ways, I would say.
Not even PG.
Wow.
It was like so. But at that time,
did you feel the?
I did. But at that time in my career, if I went like on a date with someone, it would end up in the news. Like it was very like a topic of conversation.
Look at you. How is that, by the way? Because I'm like, ooh, look at you, so popular, but that's a lot.
Oh, I hated it.
For like a date.
I really hated it.
It'd be one thing if you were already in a serious relationship and then this started, but.
I hated it. Some celebrity, and I even referring to myself as a celebrity, like makes me feel like, ugh. But some people really crave that. I mean, it is so true, and I learned this on my podcast, that like 95% of paparazzi shots are self-made.
Oh.
Yes. And like that's not like an overgeneralization.
Does that mean like you have like your assistant take a picture?
It wouldn't be your assistant. It would be like your publicist would call and say, hey, like so-and-so's leaving this place at this time.
Oh, and you're like ready.
Yes. And whether you're trying to change a media narrative or you're trying to implant a media narrative, but if you're seeing a lot of paparazzi pictures of a celebrity, that celebrity is creating and manufacturing an image, and it is not an organic thing.
I had no idea.
And 95 might even be too generous.
Wow.
I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
I don't get joy or excitement out of that. Like I've never really tried to manipulate the media in this way.
So they just showed up or did they see you on your first date or no?
No, thank God, because I never went on one. Like in 2018 and 19, like I was like, my dates were like, do you want to come over and play Mario Kart? Because I don't really want to be seen right now. Or it'd be like, let's go on like a walk at nighttime, like in the city, you know?
Yeah, where nobody would know it was you.
Exactly.
It's dark and,
yes. Yeah. So our first date was playing Mario Kart in my apartment, and he like met my cats. At the time I had 2. And then it was kind of just like, I was really busy. And I was like, that was cute, but he didn't even try to like make out with me or anything. So like rude. And then we kept chatting. And then when I was in London in like October of 2019, then like for my comedy tour at the time, he was like, oh, you're in town. And then we took a walk. But then that time he did try to make out with me.
Good.
And I was like,
as he should.
I was like, oh my God. He thinks I'm hot. And then we started dating, and then we had just gotten to the place where we started saying I love you in like February of 2020.
And then
yes. And then I was like, but I'm an Aries and I'm dramatic. So I was kind of here for that.
You're like, I live for situations like
yes.
this.
I was like, I've been waiting my whole life to have like a dramatic like love story. But I remember calling him and being like, I'm not the kind of person who can just like not know when I'm going to be with my like the person I love next.
I'm not either, by the way. Who's okay with that?
No, my kitten gets hungry. And I was not in a place where I could just like, I mean, to not get COVID, I was in a place to not be with someone, but I would rather have just been single, or like to like not know.
Yeah, felt not good.
Like I was like, oh my God, like my attachment styles cannot handle this. So I was like, I think if we're going to take this seriously, and we are serious about this, like I think I am serious about this, I think you need to like literally get on the next plane, because I think they're going to shut the borders down.
Which they did.
And that night, they shut down the EU. And this is the only thing that Donald Trump ever did that like was, good for me. But I remember seeing that they shut down the borders. And Mark had said to me that day, he was like, no, I don't think. And I was like, girl, this is fucking contagion.
It's crazy. Yeah.
This is like, this is bad. And he's like, I don't know. And then he had this like big party that he was doing. He was in events, like he's an event planner with this company. And I was like, girl, that fucking party's not happening. Kiss it goodbye. It is not happening. Like, get on the next lane. And then I saw that the borders with EU shut down. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. It's like when like the sad movie when like they do the basket and they make the basket and like your team loses. I was like, oh my God, like I couldn't maybe not see my person for like a year, or like who knows.
Yeah.
And then I saw like on my news alerts, like 20 minutes later, it was like, except for the UK, like Donald Trump like did like a except for the UK. And I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. He's never done something on the news that was like good for me. And I'm not like
No,
saying
but
he's
that
like,
thing
I'm
was good.
that only that one thing. But yeah, so then I called him like 97 times at like 3 a.m. his time, very non-psychotically. And then he woke up at like, 6 his time. And I was like, you got to do it. And which it was like in the middle of the night, my time, but he did. He ended up getting on, I think on like one of the last flights.
Wow.
Because he got to like Austin, I think it was like March 13th.
That's so dramatic. It almost feels like a movie where the plane is like flying out of something exploding. You know what I mean?
Like remember like picking him up from the airport. Like, yeah, I just, it was such a surreal time.
So he moved across the world to be with you.
Yeah.
How romantic.
He did. And then I remember like when after like 3 months, when like his immigration like time is like, you gotta like do something. We were like, how do you like, we got married, but it was like, how do we get his stuff like out of London? Like everything is like shut down and like his like roommates like packed up his stuff and like put it on like a shipping crate and it like, it was like on the Queen Mary or something.
Takes like months to get.
Yeah, it did.
It's on the Nina and the Pinta and
it
the
was
Santa
like fully
Maria.
That. It
immigrated.
It did.
Amazing. Aw. It's funny because, I mean, I met him briefly and he's definitely the yin to your yang.
Yeah.
Like, he's very calming and when you said event plan, like that makes sense because if I was a bride or like if I was hosting something, he's very just go with the flow, calming. Okay, yes. Like when I saw him, he's like, are you here to see Jonathan? I was like, yeah. And he's like, let me let you in. It was just so mellow.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like his energy.
I know he doesn't even smoke weed and he's just
naturally
mellow
chill.
like that.
Random pivot though. I want to talk, a lot of your advocacy work obviously has been in the LGBTQ plus community, but you also talk openly about addiction and your own process/recovery. I don't want to use terms that you're not comfortable with. Can you tell us a little bit about your past with addiction? I know you talk about it in your comedy stuff, which is very good. You should check out all of his comedy specials, see him on tour. I thought it was so funny. Tell me about that process for you. What happened? When did it happen? And how are we doing?
Yeah, doing great. I am not sober, but I have been to rehab twice, and I think I think there is this phrase that I'm pretty sure Buddha said, which was like, every person has like a path to the top of the mountain. I'm like paraphrasing there, but has like their own path. For me, mine has been really mostly based in harm reduction, like not in all the way.
Not black and white, not all or nothing.
Even though I think, my stepfather, who I write so much about in my first book, Over the Top, he was in program and was sober for like 27 years when he died in 2012 of cancer. But I mean, I grew up like in and around meetings, like, like I would like be outside of a meeting, like coloring books, like while he would be, so I just, recovery language, recovery speak, the recovery landscape is one that I feel really comfortable in and really safe in. And I just wouldn't even be where I am I wouldn't be where I am if not for like the people who I met in rehab, tools that I learned in rehab, but ultimately like therapy. Yeah. But I think that for some people, like a full sobriety is really important. And I also would say though that like I explore and keep open the possibility of being sober if I need to be.
Sober curious?
Yeah.
To stay on brand?
Exactly. But I think I'm just at this point in my life, like it's just that weed. I'm not ready to let go. Even just like
just out of curiosity, and because this isn't my specialty, like you guys know, I don't specialize in treatment of addiction. Even though eating disorders, we'll get into that, is kind of, they can go together. If you are sober, does that have to mean from everything? Because I guess the language,
I understand it.
Yeah, because that wasn't your addition.
And rehab, no,
correct?
Weed was a drug of choice.
Oh, okay.
I think as a non-binary person, I can have several things be my, but what I joke about in my special is that like, you wasn't going to kill me. It was uppers,
Yes. And that's what you talked about.
Yes.
Like, I love your maze joke.
Yes.
Again, check out his comedy.
Yes. But it was uppers. It was like, your cocaine, your meth, like those were the things that were really fucking my life up.
And
really
dangerous.
Yes, creating so much havoc. And in my case, and I'm not advocating this for like anyone else, but at least for me, when I was trying to be all the way sober from everything, that is like when worse relapses happen on like more extreme drugs.
Gotcha.
And whereas if
almost like we swung from extreme to extreme.
But it's like, whereas if I just like smoked a little bit of weed, like whenever, it wasn't, I just wasn't having these like, and also this is like a lot, but I also had like tried medication and then I like stopped the medication. Like I didn't wean off anything. I just like stopped an antidepressant and like that really put me into like a psychotically depressed place.
Well, withdrawal can be intense and nobody talks about that.
That was like
taking yourself off.
Like literally, like that was like, it was like June 2012, I get off of a medication. My stepdad died in like July of 2012. And then I got diagnosed with HIV in October.
Oh my God.
So it really was like, but the self-destructive behavior was like, you know, at a 50.
Well, that's a lot of trauma, stress,
too much.
upheaval.
And I was like 25. I was just like a baby. I didn't get it. So, but yeah, I mean, I think there are things I think with cannabis and, you know, smoking marijuana, I love it. It's like, be so clinical about it. But that like, I think, you know, I do have to look at, and there is a dependence there. Like, I don't feel like, I don't like going to places where like it's illegal. I don't like it, you know, it does impact my life and it's something I like need to look at, but it hasn't made my life like unmanageable or like, but the way that I understand it in rehab is, you know, with like straight up, you know, anything that affects you from the neck up, you're not sober.
Oh, interesting. Because that's what I wondered. Because I know language, people are very specific. Even our shared friend, Jared, is very specific about his sobriety. And I mean, I've been in and around like AA, NA, I've had patients in and out. But I always thought that it was more about the drug or drugs.
That's like why like coffee and cigarettes.
And those are always at meetings.
Is okay because it's not giving you like,
oh, it doesn't make you not yourself.
Like it's not meant, but although I would argue if you really wanted to be a purist, I like the anxiety that I get from like mainlining coffee, which I totally, you know, like
Same.
much more anxiety. And I totally feel it like racing thoughts. So like, I think it does, but, and you know, whatever. I just, so that's kind of been my journey. I have tried complete sobriety. It, you know, for me, I really hated it. And, I just was like, oh my God, but also I don't think I ever really like gave it long enough of a chance. Like I only ever stayed like all the way sober, like for a few months at a time. Yeah.
And those are the hardest months usually. Everybody says like the first year is like the most trying.
But to me, I just wasn't willing to risk like a worse relapse, you know? Like it was like, I mean, any one of those, like I could have died.
Yeah, it's like could OD. It's like very dangerous.
Yeah.
Right?
And I just was like, this is just not worth it. And I just wasn't willing to. So I'm not advocating for self-medicating if that's like not your thing. That's kind of what I did. I don't think it's genius or the best way. But that's what I did. And
that's your journey.
And that's
your
where
process.
I am on it now.
Yeah. And I was curious because I know before when we were talking, you're like, I don't say that I'm sober. I'm not sober. But you have successfully stopped using uppers.
Yes, exactly. So you
got to give yourself a little credit.
Yes, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and we've talked because
and I quit smoking cigarettes,
which I would argue
for a very long time
is a very difficult.
Yeah, actually, both things have been a really long time. I'm like so proud of myself, but weed, she's just like,
she's got a
makes
hold
me
of
feel
you.
very comforted.
It's maybe because it's interesting too because if uppers were your thing, weed's not that.
My theory with weed is that it's predictable, so I feel like it's my friend.
Oh.
Like it makes me feel the same way.
Interesting.
And in a time when I just like always feel like different things, so unpredictable.
Like emotional.
Yes. I like to just feel this, it's like a friend.
So it does help you cope. It's still a coping skill.
It is. It's totally a coping skill.
Yeah, because that's what I work in. I feel like, and that's why it makes sense.
And it numbs.
Yes.
It like hardcore numbs. But like some of the things that I do and like boundaries that I have around it is like I never do therapy when I'm stoned.
Okay.
Like I always like be like sober for that. I don't do hair when I'm high unless you're like my friend and I'm just styling it. But like if I'm like cutting or coloring.
Yeah, you need to be your best self.
Yes. And like I can't be like fuzzy and it's like chemicals and like, you know, like so that's like something I don't like compromise on. Oh, this is a big one. I don't do gymnastics stoned.
That makes sense.
For my safety. And that's hard because like when I used to do stand-up and I would open my stand-up with, I mean, I still do stand-up, but I used to like open my stand-up with gymnastics.
Oh, wow. You could not have done that in the one I saw. You were wearing a very fitted dress.
I used to like literally wear a leotard, do gymnastics on a tumble track Then I would do like a 10-minute set. Then an opener would come out and do like a 15-minute set while I'd be doing like a quick change in the back.
Oh.
But there would be times where I would do like double shows and I would have to be like stone cold sober until like all the way until like, and normally like if I'm going on stage, like I like to have a little tiny jointy to like loosen up the gullet or whatever, just to really let her rip. But I would have to be like all the way, just fully sober at 10 o'clock at night in a leotard doing gymnastics in front of like 3,000 people.
Yeah, so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Harm reduction.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I work a lot in the coping skill land. And you and I have had a couple of conversations about food and food noise. When we first met and you were doing my hair, you did such an amazing job. I wore that hair as long as I could because I was like, to get my full.
Girl, I'll give you a blowout anytime you want it.
Oh, I love that. I may hit you up. But you talked about food noise, feeling like maybe there was an addiction to food or binging. Tell me a little bit about when you realized that was a problem.
I think I've always, I mean, literally, I don't know if I've ever had like a balanced relationship with food.
What was it like in your family growing up? Like, how were people in your family around food? Like I grew up in a family of like, do you want more of this? As they're putting more on your plate. I didn't grow up in the South, but you could assume almost that kind of vibe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I just think my family is very like self-soothed with food. So it was never a conversation about like nutrition or like, you know, like it was a lot of like emotional eating. And so there was a lot of like emotional eating modeled in like my nuclear family. But then in my extended family, because I spent like so much time with my grandparents, they were like very much of like they were all born in the 30s. So like I remember my grandma being like, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. Like, do you really need that second cinnamon roll?
Oh.
Like, and so I did get a lot of messages about like shame and like
that, like being hungry or eating that is not good.
But I was also like literally eating like 8 brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts and like clearly having a weight, you know, like I was overweight.
Oh, you were a chubby kid.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get that she was like trying to help, but it was like I was having like just a lot of like impulsive binge eating. Like I remember this, like when my mom and dad got divorced, and this is like so cute, but like, so when we would go to my dad's house, because we always wanted to be at our mom's house, my dad would be like, to kind of entice us to like, you know, come over, like it'll be fun. Like we can do a gorge fest. We'll just get all the snacks and we'll watch movies and it'll be super fun. And that, I was
You'd be like, sign me up.
I was like, we're going to watch Ladybugs and like get all the snacks. And so, yeah, like just there was like excitement or like a thrill around like overeating. You know, like that was like a treat or like a thing.
Yeah.
So then like if left to my own devices, that was like a place where I was going to go to self-soothe if I was alone, upset, whatever. So just using food as like a coping skill. And then I think when I was in my 20s, like my early 20s, and like really started like, because I think I only was in college for a semester and then I went to hair school. And in hair school, I like had so little money that it was like I was getting like Tostino's pizza, like the 5 for $5. Like
I live that life too.
Yeah.
Where it was like hard to feed myself.
Or like ramen, like just very like.
Which has its own trauma and its own food problem too.
Which I mean, those are tasty things, but.
So tasty.
Which is my budget. I didn't know how to cook and I didn't know, like I just was 17, 18, 19. I just didn't know. So I feel like by like 2021, that's when I was like, oh, like how do I make salad? Like how do I make like a shepherd's pie? Like how do I make a turkey burger?
How do
like,
I cook for myself?
Yeah. So that's like when I started doing more of that. And that's when I remember, and then when I discovered Trader Joe's, I was like, oh my God, what is this fucking fantastical place?
Love Trader Joe's.
But I realized it around that age that like I would get the stuff that I was going to make for dinner. And I loved going to the grocery store after the salon, like after finishing doing hair, go to the grocery store. And that's when I started to discover that I could not leave without getting some binge food. And I would always like kind of like lie to myself about it. Like there was a couple year phase of like white chocolate covered pretzels. And I would be like, well, I'm going to get this bag, but I'm not like, this is going to last me for like 5 days. Okay. And I would get like a 2-pound bag and I would eat it in a night. And then the next day when I would go to get my dinner, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to get that tonight. Like, I'm not going to do another thing like that. I'm just going to like get the stuff that I was here for dinner. And then I might leave and not, but then I would order like maybe like a chocolate chip pizza thing from like Pizza Hut. Like I would always have like a binge food from a binge place. And like I realized, I was like, oh, like I don't have control of this.
Gotcha.
Like,
started to see the pattern of like,
and I'm doing things that I regret. Cause like after I would finish, like I wouldn't feel good. And I wasn't, and also I think I would say to myself, like, well, I'm not like purging, so it's fine. Mm-hmm. Like as long as I'm not purging. But then I got into this like workout bulimic place where I was like, if I didn't go to hot yoga for like 3 hours the next morning or like go work out like so much to get rid of it, then or to maintain my body, like because I wanted like in the gay community, it's like if you don't look at like you can't like overweight is like such a thing. It's so fat phobic. And so that was that's how I did that.
Yeah. And I mean, kudos to you for having the awareness, because I think for a lot of us, it can take a much longer time for us to be like, oh, I don't have control over this, because the lies we tell ourselves can be really powerful. And recently, I know you've been more open about food noise, and we talked about this when we did our short videos before, and going on a GLP-1. What was your thought process about starting that and being open about it? Because not everybody talks about it. Like we know it's happening with people, but they don't say anything.
Yeah. So like in 2022, I went to the doctor and he was like looking at my weight and he was like, and I've had the same like doctor because I'm living with HIV. I've had like the same HIV doctor for like almost like 10 years. Mm-hmm. And he was like, Jonathan, I'm just looking, this is like the second time since you've been my patient where you've like gained more than 60 pounds. Like just, no shame or whatever, just, obesity has like been in your family. There's like some health things like here with this person and that person in your family. Like, what's happening with that? And I was like, I'm fucking stressed out. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening with that. I'm newly married. I'm really fucking stressed. And I like cheese dip. And so
and we're in the land of queso.
And that's what's up with that. And also like I joke and I'm writing my new hour of comedy and
I can't wait.
I'm writing a lot about how I just have this confidence where I'm like, I always think I'm cute. Like, and
you are.
But it's like, no matter how much weight I've ever gained, I've always been like, what? Like, good, right? Cute. Like, cute, right? Like, I just, like, and then, yeah. So
where do you think that comes from?
I don't
kind
know.
Of jealous.
I don't know where my reverse shallow hell, like, came from. Like, I just always think, like, if people don't think awesome. I'm cute, I'm, like, so surprised.
But so, like, shame around food, not around body.
Yeah. I don't get what that is. But I did have body shame as a kid. Like, I remember, like, looking at my stomach and stuff. But especially, like, maybe it's because I smoked too much weed. So I don't notice. I don't know what it is. But I just am always, like, cute. Like, I don't know. I just think I look cute. But also even other people, like, because I like fit bodies, of course. Like, who doesn't like an Antony looking person? But I also think people who have bodies like my body, even when I was at my very, very biggest, are also cute. Like, I just think lots of different body types are cute or like are attractive. So he was like, you gained and lost weight. Like, and he was like, what do you think about trying a GLP-1 at the time? And I was like, you know what? No. Like, I don't want to fucking do it. I'm going to figure this out on my own. I had never counted calories. I had never gotten a nutritionist. I had never all I had ever done was like drink coffee until if you looked at me wrong, I was going to cry. And then I would like eat like a crazy person and like binge at night.
So you'd like restrict binge cycle.
But also too, like when I did my episode of like, I did an episode of my, I got to do like a TV version of my podcast for Netflix, like Getting Curious back in, and I did an episode on snacks where I interviewed this like neuroscientist about like sugar addiction, and like that went over like really badly on like eating like ED internet, like eating
the eating disorder space.
Like it went over really, really bad. And I got so much criticism and so much shame because people were like, sugar addiction isn't a thing. You clearly were modeling that you have that you're restricting, and people were right. Like I was modeling, but and she didn't call me out on that because she's like a neuroscientist. And And I like, but also like, it was so, that episode in particular was so hard because I didn't realize how much shame that I had around it. I also didn't mean to like perpetuate like
Of course
eating
not.
disorder culture, but the volume of people that were like, you're being irresponsible with your platform and you owe us an apology. And
As if it was malicious, like you did on purpose.
It was so loud.
You were like almost unaware.
And actually, it created so much negativity around the series that a lot of people wouldn't watch it and then went and created like shitty content about the series, which like discouraged people from watching it. It actually really created like, I always have felt that was part of why it got canceled, because the numbers that it pulled, which Netflix isn't supposed to tell you, but I kind of found out what they pulled, were so good. But that negativity prevents so many people, and it prevented it from growing to a place where we could have gotten picked up for another season, which was just like heartbreaking.
It's such a bummer because it was like your baby.
Oh my God, it was my baby. And it was like that. I mean, that show getting canceled was like one of my biggest heartbreaks and just like disappointments like of my career. Like just like, like you put so much into it. And I just like, why didn't I do an episode about trees? Or like plants. Like,
yeah, why was this the first one?
Yeah.
I know.
But
sometimes I think things happen in timing for a reason.
Exactly.
But it is hard.
Totally.
Oh,
it hurts.
It hurts.
But at that time with the doctor, I was like, I want to pull myself up by the bootstraps and like figure it out. So I got this nutritionist. I was like, I'm going to see like how I feel eating breakfast. And like, that was the first thing that I did where I was just like.
That's the hardest meal for my eating disorder patients is breakfast.
Because that was the other thing about restricting is I never felt like my restricting counted because I wasn't doing it because I thought I was fat. Or because I didn't
when
like
we
my
binge,
body.
we often don't think we restrict, but where there's a binge, there's been a restriction.
Well, because like because the thing with me was like I just was doing it because I was like I need to go to the gym and I need to like go to work and I'm compulsively late for my ADHD. So if I like stop to eat something in the morning, I'm just going to be later. So I would just like drink coffee so I didn't notice that I was hungry and then like eat like lunch and then like have like 18 dinners.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was fine. I didn't think that was like,
you're like, well, I fasted for a while.
Yeah. But then I was like, oh, this is kind of giving me like workout bulimic vibes. Like this isn't great. And but then I was like, I look okay.
Kudos to you for the insight, by the way.
But I didn't really do anything about it.
No, but you still had a little bit of awareness, which we have to acknowledge that is really difficult when we're caught in that cycle.
Well, also in my 20s, I was like, don't do meth. Like, I was like, as long as I'm not doing meth.
Harm reduction.
Yes. Like, I was like, as long as I'm not having a meth relapse, like, and you're eating like 3 fucking things of Dunkers from Trader Joe's, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like,
it can feel like whack-a-mole. You're like, I have too many things.
Exactly.
Like, give me one.
And I've always felt like that.
Yeah.
So I do, it's just like one thing.
What do you think then we're numbing out from?
Probably childhood trauma. Yeah.
I don't even mean to laugh because it's not funny, 0% funny, but just the delivery.
But yeah, it's that.
It's because you're a comedian.
But I mean, I've worked really hard on it and it doesn't have, I mean, my childhood stuff really doesn't have a hold on me, but I think that was my big aha moment in my 20s was like, once I did kind of deal with my really, my trauma, I was like, oh my God, I still have all these patterns. Like just because you get the apologies and the acknowledgement that you need from someone or you don't, and then you make peace with that, you still have the patterns. And I think I thought like, once I got those acknowledgments and once everyone knew and once I said my piece to the people who hurt me, I was like, I thought that it would just go away. But then I was like, oh my God, the compulsivity with food's still here. The compulsivity with sex is still here. Like all these like little, patterns that I made in my head, they're still fucking there. And I was so mad that it wasn't a magic bullet.
I know. And it is hard. That's the hardest part is breaking the habits because you're still walking around with that same blueprint. We were trying to rewrite a new one. But it's not rewritten yet,
But with that GLP-1 situation, it was like,
oh yeah, sorry,
I did it without it, and then I was really proud of myself. It took me, and I talked about it on TikTok at the time. Like I lost like 50 pounds that time too, like over the course of like 6 months, from just like, and I was really proud of myself because like I only tracked my calories, and I wasn't compulsive. I didn't feel like triggered by it. If I missed like a meal for tracking, I wasn't like, I wasn't like freaking out
obsessive
about it. It wasn't at all. Like I really was just like, oh, if I eat this much, that's kind of the ballpark of what it's in. And I need to kind of get around this much of activity. Okay. I was viewing it in my mind as like, and I was working with a nutritionist who was eating disorder, like
good, which is
educated
important.
And stuff. And she knew what my stuff was. So that was good. And then I kept that weight off without tracking for a few months. Then unexpected death in the family.
I'm so sorry.
Sudden, devastating loss. Didn't see it coming. Like gigantic big T trauma. And then...
And grief is so...
Well, when that happened, I couldn't do the like I didn't have the bandwidth to sit with, like that was just a part of my personality, like in my little like coping strategies, like that binge eating part was like, I got you, girl.
Don't worry, lean on into us.
And I had to like go, you know, I had to go somewhere like back to where I'm from for that. And I just was like fucking cheese dip, pizza, like alcohol, like just numbing, could not get enough numbing. And I don't know if it's like Trigger City to like talk about numbers, but I just will say
I'll put a trigger warning at the beginning.
I gained a significant amount of weight in that like 1 week. And I remember being like, I was like, well, that's okay. I didn't track for that week or anything, but like, it's like, maybe I'll think about tracking again. And I won't let this get away from me. And then in like a very, very, very tiny amount of time, it got really away from me. And then I was like, fuck me. So then I called my doctor and I was like, let me try that thing, but I'm scared of needles. So let me try the pill version.
Okay. And
then I was just like sick as shit on the pill version and didn't change my diet at all. And I didn't really work out anymore. And then after like a month of that, I was like, I'd rather just like gain weight. Like,
yeah,
this
not
sucks.
worth it.
This is like, so then after like a couple of years of that and just feeling like, and then I started to feel like a little bit out of control. Then I started like my shallow bowel disease, like kind of started to like wear off where I was like,
I love shallow. I love that reference.
I know, me too. But I was like, I was actually trying to like sext my husband. And I was like, no matter how much I do this certain thing that I normally do that like kind of makes it still kind of cute, it's like not really working. And then I was like, and then also when I was doing gymnastics, like, which I still do, but I just like do it for fun, not for my comedy, because it's like a personal, like for me thing. Yeah. I was like, God damn, my knees are going to break in half. Like
you could feel the impact.
Yes. Like my body was like physically hurting. And my doctor was like, a year later was like, okay, no, well now it's 3 times. Like now we've gained and lost 50 pounds plus 3 times, which like now I'm like a little bit worried about your heart. I'm a little bit worried about like this and that.
And the up and down is really hard on our bodies.
Exactly.
It's not being heavier or being super, it's that yo-yo effect is really stressful.
So then I started the shot and then I was like, oh, this is what everybody was talking about. Like just like overnight. Like
how so?
Just I like the first day I took it, I had like had like a normal lunch, had a normal breakfast for me, which was probably like a bar and like a coffee, like not that much. And then like a lunch, which was like I was in LA and I was staying at like my favorite hotel. So it was like their room service. So like a healthy lunch, not like any sort of restricting lunch, like, but not a bingey lunch, just like,
yeah, just like chicken salad or something.
Yeah, like it's probably more like popcorn, shrimp, and like some sushi and like.
Oh, so LA.
Yeah.
Love it.
But like very much like, you know, I definitely had some carbs, definitely like it was like a well-rounded meal. But I remember thinking like, I'm going to fuck up some of this room service tonight. Like when I get back, cause I was going to a dinner and I specifically.
You were already planning your binge.
Yes. Like I was like, cause they got this in the hotel room and they got that in the hotel room.
So the mental pattern is still there.
But I remember it's like so like crazy. Like when I got the prescription for the shot, I was like, I'm just going to like go take this in the bathroom of this like place that I was at. So I just like went into this bathroom, took this shot, and then I went out to dinner and like I went back to the hotel from dinner and then I like watched Downton Abbey on my phone and like went to bed. And the next day I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about anything after dinner. Like, wow. And I wasn't even because of the shot. It just was like, I just like didn't want for it. And then within the first like week, I was like, I definitely gotten into a place where like a vodka martini with a twist, very cold, very dry, was feeling really good. And by 1, I mean 4 or 3. Definitely 4 is a little crazy. That was like a little alcoholic and dramatic. It was more like 3. But I realized like 1 week into the shot, like even finishing 1, I was like wasted, like too drunk, like in public, uncomfortable. I didn't do anything stupid or anything. Like I wasn't, but I was like, oh, this isn't good. Like I would stand up and be like, oh, like,
you're like, whoa,
that was a lot more drunk.
Heels start to feel very dangerous.
Yeah. And so I think that is one part of the GLP-1s. It's like it reset my relationship with alcohol real fast, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, and this is like where my concerns for it are, if you are a restrictor or if you are some like, just because it is so powerful and like removing the appetite. The reason that I think that it has helped me with my food and the relationship with the food is the first 2 weeks I lost so much weight. And I was like, because I would like, but again, it's like, I was like, oh, you could like not eat for 2 days. Like,
oh, that's not good.
Like, I mean, like it was like me getting dizzy was like what was reminding me to eat.
Oh,
like
so you need to have like a schedule and like an alarm.
Exactly. So then after like 3 weeks, I was like, I don't want to get like Ozempic butt and like no ass. And I want to still do gymnastics and I want to still be strong and stuff.
Yeah. And
so I can't just be out here like not eating. And because you get full faster, like you can't, dolly chop around like some random shit. Like it's like, I need my fucking protein, I need my fiber, and I need my carbs because like I only got like a certain amount before you're literally like, whoo, like you just get full way faster. So it just made me get like less, oh, I'll eat what I feel like when I see it. Because if you do that,
you'd be full forever and
you didn't get the food you needed.
Yeah, you didn't get any nutrients.
So now I gotta like plan it better. So now it just made me literally get into this place with my husband where we like are planning the food and I am eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner like clockwork. Like I'm all about like 2 eggs sunny side up. My husband's British. I'm addicted to baked beans in the morning.
I love a British breakfast.
I love a fucking British breakfast so much.
Scottish breakfast, British,
oh my God.
Whole area of the world.
My nipples are hard.
They know
just talking about it
best. They do it best.
The Heinz British baked beans.
Those beans.
And they're different than American beans. Like they're not as sweet.
Who would think beans for breakfast?
My sister got married.
And the sausages.
My sister got married to a man in Scotland. So that was the first time I ever had an English breakfast. I was like 17. Ooh. I've never been the same. Like I like beans for breakfast. You don't sleep on it.
I know it's so good.
It's like crazy good. but that's like, I just have my like.
Have your breakfast. You have your lunch.
And I just like got my like habit and I got my like. Like you probably have people like everywhere like listening to this, but there's this place in Austin that's called Tumble 22.
The hot chicken
yes.
place.
And I get there like the half Cobb salad with like the grilled chicken.
Is it good?
Oh my God, it's next level. So tasty.
But I like that. I do worry about GLP-1s and restriction because it can take away. It's almost the same for my ADHD patients when they start like a Ritalin or some kind of, medication like that can like remove our appetite or make it harder for us to touch base.
Yeah.
I do worry about the effects of that because it can allow us to restrict more than maybe we planned.
Yes.
We can not get the nutrients that we need.
Yes.
We can pass out, blah, 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 feel dizzy. So all that, yes. But I do like that it sounds like it took away food noise for you and it made you more intentional about what you eat, which as long as there's no obsessive piece of it, I actually think it's a healthy choice for you.
And day to day, it hasn't. But I will tell you, like, just full disclosure, like one thing that I literally had to talk about in therapy. So my husband, we were in New York a couple weeks ago, and he put the shots in the freezer, like, because he just thought like, oh, it needs to stay cold, but like it's the fridge, and like,
so it got too cold.
It ruined it. Oh. And it was like a holiday weekend, and so
you
like
wouldn't have your.
I definitely like, so day to day, I wasn't thinking about like, I don't think like, oh, I ate this or I didn't eat that. Like, I don't think it's gotten me into like a place where it's like compulsive or like unhealthy. But I noticed that day when I like didn't know, it was like a Sunday when I realized that they were like frozen solid. And then like when I Googled like can't use.
Yeah, can you thaw them?
I found out no. And then I was like, huh. And Monday was like a holiday. I was like I noticed like a part of me like wanted to like go off on my husband, which like it was just like an accident,
Yeah.
But like the level of irritation and the level of like what if they don't fill the prescription? And then also interestingly,
it was almost like a weird like drug addict. Not that
pharmacist wouldn't fill the prescription because it had just been filled, but like someone else would. But like the level of like freak out that I had in my head that I needed to like. So that did concern me.
Yeah, that would bug me too because it almost feels like a dependency, even though
it didn't feel chill.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I think it's just because like I'm really relieved because I just like, I really like it.
To not have the food noise.
And I don't want to like, and I didn't want to get like separate. And also too, there was a little bit principle thing. Like I was like, you don't, because it wasn't only that I was like, oh, I can't be away from it for a day. It was like, I felt like the pharmacist thought that I was like trying to sell Zepbound on the black market because like didn't believe that they were frozen.
Gotcha.
I was like, girl, they're fucking, he froze 2 of them solid, honey. Like, I just
let
want
me
my
bring
shot.
them to you.
Like, yes. Like, I just don't want to get, because it's like the day, like you take like 1 day a week and I didn't want to like get off on my day. Because I do kind of like the day that I take it.
So we like the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of that might be kind of soothing the ritual, the consistency, especially for those of us who feel this up and down.
Yeah.
Like I've always talked with my patients because I deal a lot with people with borderline personality disorder, which can feel very up and down.
Yes.
I always talk about how therapy can be healing because of its consistency.
Yes.
Because you can like count on me same day, same time.
Yes.
You start to get in the rhythm. And it's like you were in the rhythm with that. But that would kind of concern me too, that like the emotion.
I just was like, oh, what's this part?
Yeah. And
like this part is very like rigid about this right now.
And are you still, because then this is my last concern about it, and then we'll move on. But I'm always concerned when people go on something like a GLP-1 that they haven't really worked through their food stuff, that the reason that we have that would still exist, meaning any kind of compulsory, because they're all kind of tied together, right? Whether it's meth, whether it's weed, whether it's shopping, whether it's food, whether it's whatever. Are you still working through that stuff, or do we feel like it would come back?
Well, I'm still in therapy. So like with my therapist.
Me too.
So yes, but I will say like these studies that are coming out saying that like GLP-1s may help with impulsivity, like I think that they might be right, because my impulsivity like across the board on things that I've been like fucking tapping on, fucking EMDR paddling, like trying every fucking thing, like the noise has been turned down.
Like shopping, for example? Wow. Okay.
Like, so.
And obviously alcohol, but I consider that kind of like food, but it's a little different because we'd use it more to cope.
I'm just saying that like I've been trying to get coping strategies for some of these things that like I really notice like the compulsivity and the impulsivity is like it hasn't only helped it with food, it's like been in other places as well. And so do I think if I got off of it, if it would come back? Yeah, I do. Which is why I'm probably not going to get off of it. And I talked to my doctor about that. And so what I think I would do is you just like go down to like the very lowest dose, and instead of like once a week, you do it like every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Like you just like do it
like
less.
a maintenance.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because I really like, I don't ever want to feel, because like that like the reason I told that whole story about like getting the nutritionist and just like learning about it is like, you know, I'm sure you know about like the window of tolerance thing. So like if my life is in a place where my window of tolerance is like I can hang, I don't think I would need a GLP-1. Like I can sit with it. But the nature of the trauma of the loss that happened in 2023 is it was so intense and close to home that like my window of tolerance still isn't there.
Yeah.
Like just like on that grief alone.
I know, because it can take years. I find even like mentioning a loss, I'm like,
yeah.
I still feel, I'm like, stuff it down. No, you know?
So I just am like, if my career like didn't have the pressure and but like I want to be able to live my life and challenge myself and take the risks that I'm taking creatively, like with what I'm writing and the comedy that I'm doing. And I want to be able to do all that without just the mental fortitude that it was taking for me to have to learn how to like sit with that discomfort of the food noise and the impulsivity of the food noise. And if there is an option for me that's like able for me to use that and get help with that, then like I'm here for it.
I think it's really great because it's resourceful. And I've always been an advocate, and my audience knows this too, is like, if it helps one person, I'm never going to dog on something. Like I might not agree. Like, for example, I don't always agree with hypnotherapy, but if people in our audience have said it's been really helpful, I'm like, awesome, good, then do it. Like if it's not hurting anybody else and it's helping you, then people should leave their judgment at the door, because they don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what it's like to be somebody else. And it's out there and it has been helpful. And I've heard from people in our audience it's very helpful for them too. So I just thank you for being honest. And thank you also for sharing, because the thing that does bother me is people who claim I'm just green juicing and going for walks. And I'm like, now I'm in the 90s again and you're setting unrealistic beauty standards. And I'm looking at Kate Moss wondering my body doesn't look like that. And all she eats is like, wine and cigarettes or whatever, right?
I feel like there's like, I mean, not to be like, you can totally add this out if you need to, but I feel like just having done hair in LA for like however long that was, I feel like you can like tell there's a specific look. Having lost 50 pounds on a GLP-1 and then like not on a GLP-1, like just from like food and exercise, it did look different and it was a different experience and it was a different timeline. Yes. Because when I lost 50 pounds without a GLP-1, I remember making a TikTok about this. It literally took me 4 weeks. 4 weeks. No, to lose a pound.
Oh, a pound. I thought you were going to say all of it.
No, a pound. And I was eating in a caloric deficit, working out.
Wow.
4 weeks. I mean, I didn't gain weight, but I didn't lose any weight.
Yeah.
For 4 whole fucking weeks. And then when I finally did, there was like a week where I lost like 3 pounds, and then the next week I lost like 9. And I like didn't even change. It took my body forever.
Yeah.
Whereas on the GLP-1, it was like the first week was like a lot, and the second week was like it was just fast.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of why your face, it's different too, because like your face just, if your face just changes faster.
Well, yeah, because your body's not made to really lose weight that quickly, and so it's different. It hits different, and your skin probably doesn't have as much time also to like deal with the loss.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
which I think is why we see
that.
like saggy butts and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting though, but thank you for being honest about it, because I do get frustrated with celebrities who don't disclose. And not that I don't want people to think like, oh, that's our business and I have to know everything about everybody. But I feel like when you are somebody that people look to for fashion,
just don't lie about it.
Yes. If people ask you straight up, be like, yes, I am taking something.
But that is also hard too. Like when it's like, if the person's like on a carpet or something, and someone straight up asks you,
that's not the time.
Because even your team could say like, oh, they don't want to talk about it, but then they always are going to try to ask and like get you on the spot. And it's like, if someone has a medical reason or they just don't want to share it or whatever, it's like, what are you supposed to say? Like,
I know, it's
I have
tricky.
Cancer. Like what? Like, so it's like green juicing or what? Like, I'm not to joke about cancer, but I'm just saying.
No,
so
but like, what are you supposed to say?
So it's like hard. It's just, but I also know exactly what you're saying. Like, there are people who like have totally taken it and fully lied about it and weren't even trying to like, whatever.
Yeah,
so,
consider the effect on people. And I'm not saying, again, we're not all responsible for everybody else, but it's like, I just appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you're sharing it, because it wouldn't be comfortable. I wouldn't want to tell people either, but I would feel some kind of responsibility. And I'm just thankful that.
But what's so interesting too, though, not to like make it run longer, but it's like when I lost that 50 pounds in 2022, even now I feel this need to be like, but I didn't do a GLP-1 that time. Like
some pride in it or something.
Yeah, like that was cooler because I didn't have help that time, or like it just doesn't, I just think like however it works for you, it's like do that.
Yeah. And I think that's always the message. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, not hurting you, you're doing it responsibly with your doctor. You're not getting it off some black market crazy TikTok shop or something. Yeah. And as long as you're still in therapy, that's also important, because I always think it's like we want to work on ourselves, and if we can be as resourceful as possible. And if that's an option and that's something that's good for you.
And stand in therapy, honey.
Yep.
My therapist is on jury duty right now.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
I know. So I'm on like a week of like.
Well, at least I got to see you twice.
No, yeah, I love which your filling is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I always like to leave people with a tangible tool or a tip or something that you turn to help you in tough times. What's your go-to, either self-care, could be small, could be big. What do you do when you're feeling really shitty?
Okay, it's like, I hope it's not too random, but a bath.
No, I love that.
And the queen, I just saw this queen on TikTok, this like hairdresser queen, and he was saying like, he was like in the bathtub and he was like, what do you mean you don't take a 2-hour decompression bath after work? And like,
I love that.
And I was like, that is so me. Like my body just like, yes, I love a good, like warm, like not warm, like really hot bath.
Mhm. Same. Has to be hot.
Yeah.
Then you can sit in it longer too as it cools.
Yes.
I love that note. And I always tell people, like, we often don't even consider how much a shower can change our life.
Yes.
But a bath is like also not only that cleansing feeling, but also the relaxation.
And if you're recoiling right now thinking about baths because you're like, oh, why would I want to sit in my own filth? I too used to be one of those people, but actually baths are how I quit smoking cigarettes because I used to hate, like, I never would want to like get myself dirty or smoky like after getting out of the shower. So then I was like, oh, I know how I'll get through like these like 7 hours of like where I want to scratch my own eyes and ears out like after doing hair, like sitting in my apartment alone when I just would be like, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. I could just, oh my God, this is like the worst feeling I've ever had. I was like, I'll just sit in the bathtub. I'll just like sit in the bathtub for like 5 hours at a time. And I would.
You're so pruny.
So pruny. But I would always keep my hands out because I'd like read books.
Oh yeah.
While I'd be
Look at you
in there.
being
That was
so-
like my favorite thing. But yeah, that's like how I learned to like love a bath. It's because I quit smoking cigarettes and I love a bath so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with us today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Where can people find you? What are you up to next?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram at JVN and TikTok. It's like JVN official or something. But my podcast is Getting Curious and we come out every Wednesday and we cover, it's really like my neurodivergence, but we're trying to be more focused now. So this year we're kind of more about like, wellness, psychology, how to be your best self, how to heal, how to recover.
I was on or will be on. We talk about people pleasing.
We did. It's such a good episode. It's actually, it's as we speak, it's like tomorrow. So that's every Wednesday. And then Monday we do like a fun kind of episode where it's more about like beauty and like behind the scenes of the Wednesday episode, but it's our senior producer and I being like two fun gays gabbing. So that's the Monday vibe, and then Wednesday's Getting Curious.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And also check out his comedy. Are you on tour?
Yeah, I am. Hot and Healed tour. I'm kind of going all over. You can get tickets and see the dates at JVN here or at jonathanvanness.com/tour.
I'll link everything in the description.
Thanks
again for talking with us.
Love you guys.